Welcome to @Cronkite News, your social sharing connection where you choose the news. Facebook likes and shares, tweets, retweets, and favorites. YouTube views and subscriptions. We're watching you watch us. From our digital home at cronkitenews.azpbs.org to your television, web browser, or mobile device. Let's get a refresh on the top Arizona news of the week.
Every year, thousands of people take the unconventional trip up to this hidden Arizona bar. Alexa Arms takes us up to Parker, Arizona to show us what makes this place such an unusual oasis.
How far would you go for a beer? A 5-mile off-roading adventure up the unpaved Cienega Springs Road will take you to Arizona's most remote bar. A 3-decade-old, off-the-grid, handmade work in progress.
This is what I want to do because I can create anything.
What started out as a 5-stool operation grew into something much bigger thanks to the help of solar energy.
Solar, I mean, with me out here, it's a big thing. Each time you add something, you got to have the power to go with it.
The solar panels capture enough sunlight to power all lights, appliances, and even some air conditioning. These additions have allowed the bar more opportunity to appeal to a larger clientele.
Whether you're an athlete, a movie star, a rich person, a poor person, a person from Europe. Today we had people from Australia. Every type of people come here.
The Desert Bar has become a staple in the Parker community, and it's the hospitality and uniqueness that has drawn people in for over 30 years.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, you know? I mean, it's just like, where else do you find a place like this?
And the greatest thing here is no electronics.
The lack of cell reception also allows for more meaningful conversations.
Anywhere else, everyone's on their cell phones, not here.
The Desert Bar has already begun plans for next season's editions. Aside from more solar panels, what's to come is a surprise. In Parker, Alexa Arms, Cronkite News.
The Desert Bar is open from October until the end of April. This is the last weekend to make a trip up there until next season.
It's no secret that when it comes to budget cuts in schools, one of the first things to go is the arts. However, Cronkite News reporter Danielle Kerncamp found one Arizona school district that's planning quite the opposite.
We're not cutting the arts. We are not only not cutting it, we're making it even bigger.
Madison School District broke ground today on their new arts center near 16th Street in Missouri. Dr. Quinn Kellis, superintendent of the district, says the district is expanding its programs because art plays a vital role in a young student's life.
We're definitely all about reading and writing and arithmetic, but students also need to have that other part of their lives, which is the arts.
Something that gives happiness or feelings to somebody. I feel like it's my talent.
The Madison Center for the Arts will contain an art gallery, a performance stage, and a back end that allows the students to learn about the engineering of theater.
About dancing, I like to perform on stage, and for singing, I also like performing on stage.
Help students do better in math and English and some of the other core subjects. So we're all in when it comes to the arts.
The Madison community voted to approve the center, which will be built using bond money. In Phoenix, Danielle Kerncamp, Cronkite News.
The lights are going out at a popular Valley preschool, not for the summer, but permanently. The Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College preschool has been serving families for decades. Cronkite News reporter Ashley Holcomb tells us why the daycare can't afford to stay open.
It was not the school's in trouble, maybe we can work something out. It was we've decided to close the preschool.
Mindy Schatz chose to enroll her 3-year-old Hannah in the preschool because she could learn alongside children with different ages and learning abilities. Schatz fears that her daughter won't have that same opportunity at another daycare.
By putting her into a daycare, she would be grouped with other 3-year-olds, and she is more advanced than a 3-year-old.
Parents received this letter on the 28th of February informing them that the preschool will permanently close its doors on the 28th of July and included options for guardians to consider. Paul Getteman, Director of Marketing and Advertising for the Teachers College, said the decision came down to money. The school lost more than $400,000 in 2015 and more than $500,000 in 2016, and also spent $546,000 to move the school from campus to its current location. This year's projected deficit is more than $450,000. That totals more than $1.9 million in 3 years. Dean Carol Basile says that closing the preschool is not an easy decision, but they are working with staff to bring the college's expertise in early childhood education to more children in more communities. Schatz said the parents should have had the chance to know about the financial problems earlier so they could have helped brainstorm solutions.
Instead of being an innovator and looking for new ways to make this preschool viable for another 30 years, she has decided to close the school because of money.
According to ASU's website, the university operates 4 other childcare facilities open to the community over several campuses. In Tempe, Ashley Holcomb, Cronkite News.
More than 500,000 kids eat free and reduced price lunches in Arizona every day. Schools rely on money from the federal government to feed them all. Cronkite News reporter Natalie Tarangioli learned some districts in the valley receive more money than they end up using.
Feeding that many children nutritious food affordably comes with challenges. It's in the district's best interest to serve as many meals as possible because that means more money they get back. The saying goes that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but for thousands of students in the valley, it's also lunch. A Cronkite News analysis found that the federal government reimbursed Maricopa County school districts more than $200 million for school meals in 2016 alone. Jocelyn Salazar has 4 kids in the Cartwright School District, where 86% of students qualify for free or reduced lunch.
They eat breakfast and lunch, and then it's all free. That's what I like.
The district had so many kids eating for free or reduced prices that administrators decided to allow every student to eat for free.
What you do is you collect applications for 1 year, and then you use those same percentages year after year for the free and reduced instead of having to collect all those applications again.
For every free lunch that is served, the school gets $3.16 back, $2.76 with a reduced lunch. Lower income school districts benefit more than affluent schools. More kids getting lunch for free means more money back.
And it works out beautifully, absolutely beautifully.
Cartwright is one of 8 Maricopa County school districts with participation rates so high they end up with leftover money. Food Service Director Diane Grumman simply puts it as economics.
The more kids you can feed, the more money you get, and as you feed more students, your labor costs come down.
10 of the 21 schools in the district even serve dinner at no charge. According to the district's annual financial report, Cartwright received $13.8 million in federal funds last year, but used just $12.1. So the district is able to put that extra money toward things like new kitchen equipment and cleaning supplies.
There's very strict regulations on what we can purchase and what we cannot purchase.
For Salazar, free meals served at school means less for her to worry about.
Like mom, I have 4. That it will be like stress to pack in to give us some lunch for each one, and I think it's better. They can go and then eat breakfast and then lunch in school.
A meal is eligible for reimbursement if it follows nutritional guidelines set by lawmakers back in 2010. The Healthy Free Hunger Kids Act created a level playing field for all children, no matter what school they attend, to have access to healthy food. With the investigative team, Natalie Tarangioli, Cronkite News.
The new Netflix show 13 Reasons Why is as popular as it is controversial due to the topic of suicide. The show has a younger audience, and some experts say it could pose health risks for certain people, such as those who have suicidal thoughts.
A national suicide prevention group ranks Arizona 13th in the country for the number of suicides. On average, 1 person in Arizona commits suicide every 7 hours, according to one report. American Association of Suicidology medical experts and families are taking steps to reduce the number of suicides in the state.
We bury our grandparents, we bury our parents, but as a parent, you're never prepared to bury your child, and you're especially never prepared to bury your child because of suicide.
Sue Burgess is dreading May. Her son Chris's birthday was on Mother's Day. 6 years ago, at the age of 29, he committed suicide on Memorial Day, months after he returned home from serving in Iraq.
Say you're raising your kids and want to ask me for parental advice, I'm going to tell you I'm not the person probably to answer those questions because I feel like I failed my son.
In 2015, Arizona had 1,276 commit suicide, according to a national report. A group will meet later this month to discuss ways to save lives beyond calling a 24-hour crisis hotline. One innovative tool is a video game where users can create their own avatars and make themselves heroes in their own stories. It's like an online therapy with a community where gamers can reach out to suicide prevention experts who are monitoring the game.
Create this alternative version of themselves to then be able to take those steps and access care and services.
Suicide prevention experts are learning that people who have attempted suicide are less likely to try again if they tell their personal stories to a support group.
I think what we're really learning is that if we are alongside and supporting individuals in intolerable pain, we can make a tremendous difference.
Burgess says she hopes people can get a better understanding of how to prevent suicide so no other family experiences regret. She still celebrates her son's life.
We still like to go to Dos Gringos on his birthday and we put a beer, a Bud Light, and a Jaeger shot in the center of the table, and we have that picture that is right there. Always goes with us, and it sits in the center of the table, and everybody just kind of hangs out and they tell Chris stories.
Burgess encourages education community leaders to keep an eye on young people because suicide is a leading cause of death, people 15 to 34 years old.
American Association of Suicidology will meet April 28th in Phoenix. If you or someone could be posing a threat to themselves, contact these Arizona resources: Alternative Behavioral Services, Arizona Teen Crisis Solutions, toll-free statewide, and the Suicide Hotline in Spanish. In the Broadcast Center, Morgan Wheeler, Cronkite News.
A collective effort from Arizona leaders and law enforcement are trying to fill hundreds of vacant positions across the state. Reporter Nicole Gutierrez explains why departments need to hire so many.
The Department of Public Safety, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, and the Phoenix Police Department are just a few of the agencies that need to fill their vacant positions. Now they're asking the community for help.
NAU's partnership with law enforcement has brought 3 Arizona leaders together in hopes of reaching out to the community to encourage people to apply for their departments.
Because of the economic downturn, the agencies weren't hiring for 8 years. So Phoenix didn't hire for 8 years. Now you have people who are retiring, so the attrition rate, they can't hire enough to keep up with the attrition rate.
Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Pinzone was one of the speakers that discussed what position his department is in.
We are facing trying times. And for each agency here and others throughout the valley, we are depleted of resources.
But the past economic downfall isn't the only hurdle law enforcement is facing.
Right now, it's been hard for us to recruit in the sense that there's been a lot of negativity around law enforcement. Look, the men and women that wear these uniforms at work, you know, we're your neighbors. Our kids go to school with your kids. We go to the same Costco you do. We're just regular people.
Frank Milstead, director of the Department of Public Safety, also stated that people interested in law enforcement have the opportunity to experience the field before committing to it.
You want to be a DPS trooper? Come out and ride. Sign up for a ride along. Go spend a couple nights in a trooper's car and see what they do.
Although there's critical need to fill positions, it doesn't mean the department will take desperate measures.
You know, my offer is this. We are not looking for individuals who want a job. We're looking for individuals who are going to invest in a career, because law enforcement is a career opportunity.
A career opportunity that Phoenix PD is trying to offer to the community.
What we're looking for is we want to hire members that are part of the community that they're ultimately going to serve.
This Saturday, NAU is hosting a law enforcement career fair in their North Valley location near I-17 and Greenway. More than 14 agencies across the state are expected to attend. In the Broadcast Center, Nicole Gutierrez, Cronkite News.
The Arizona Board of Pharmacy aims to keep controlled substances from getting into the wrong hands. But as Carla Liriano reports, one of their methods is raising privacy concerns.
The board has rolled out new monitoring programs in recent years to keep pills out of the hands of addicts. But it also has an alert system to send out details on fraud attempts at pharmacies. Anyone can sign up for these alerts on the board's website. Teresa Sickler owns and runs Melrose Pharmacy in Phoenix. She uses the State Pharmacy Board's Controlled Substance Prescription Monitoring Program to curb prescription fraud.
When a patient comes into the pharmacy, especially somebody we haven't seen before, we'll check their history. So we'll be able to see if they've gone to other pharmacies, if they're, like how recent was the last controlled substance prescription they got.
She says using the database is an important part of her job. However, she doesn't like what comes next. The alerts can include full names, addresses, phone numbers, and physical descriptions of those suspected of prescription fraud.
There is no regulatory process around a fraud alert. It is just it's a communication tool that we use, and a pharmacist has to use their judgment call to utilize that information we send to them. That's all it is, really.
While that brings up privacy concerns, the board says it's an essential part of the system.
We do have to have identifiable marks. So if there's a Miss Jones going around or Mr. Jones going around passing fraudulent prescriptions, there's a lot of Mr. Joneses out there. So if we can't connect the dots and we can't identify that that's the person, then the fraud alert won't serve any purpose.
They even used to have social security numbers, but the pharmacy board removed those last fall after an interview for Cronkite News investigation into opioid abuse in the state.
A lot of times these fraud alerts come through and then they go out without proper vetting. And it came to our attention that this was an issue, and as soon as we were notified of it, we took action and took out that information.
Stickler's afraid that detailing those incidents will result in more prescription fraud attempts.
It definitely does make me nervous knowing that other people can look into the system. Some of that information should not be out in the public.
And what would convince her to start using the fraud alert system?
I would definitely take patient-sensitive data out of it, or be specific on who can sign up.
For more information on fighting fraud at the pharmacy and opioid abuse in Arizona, check out our full investigation at hookedrx.com. In the broadcast center, Carla Liriano, Cronkite News.
Governor Doug Ducey signed a new law to help prosecute sex traffickers. But according to data and experts from the Office of Sex Trafficking Intervention Research at Arizona State University, many trafficking victims never press charges, leaving traffickers on the streets. But that isn't the only hurdle when tackling sex trafficking, as investigative reporter Megan Finnerty found out.
Exiting sex trafficking and finding a new normal is not easy for victims, and Cronkite News found providing support or justice for the victims is not any easier. The new research looked at 159 cases in Las Vegas, but sex trafficking is a national issue.
This nondescript building in Glendale is home to Streetlight USA, a transitional program designed to give love and support to victims of sex trafficking.
Go get breakfast and everything.
But the girls struggle as their life structure transitions from being controlled by their trafficker to needing to get up, get ready, and once again go to school.
We got to get out of here.
They do want a normal life, and that this is not something that initially they understand that they've gotten involved with, but over time they do start to realize, once they see what a normal life is like, that their life is abnormal.
In these cottages, the program tries to cut the girls off from their high risk or trafficked past. Kaylin graduated the program after trying 11 other places, but at Streetlight, her transition stuck.
You know, really invite you in and make you feel like you should stay and like you should, you know, work on yourself and better your life.
Girls have been here ranging from days to years, but according to the CEO, problems outside of the fence in licensing and identification processes, they can't provide the girls all the support they need here.
There's huge gaps in the system as to why it's not working. Most of the kids that we know that are trafficked, it's not on their record, because unless a child's been criminalized, then how does the system recognize them?
Streetlight needs state approval for medical attention and separate approval for therapy. And more regulations leave empty beds.
We are a facility that can house 60 kids, Why is it that we only have 2 houses full?
When trafficking victims aren't identified, the oversight is harmful, preventing girls a chance at the Streetlight program. In Phoenix, Dignity Health launched a campaign to train medical staff to notice the signs of human trafficking.
I've worked on victims of human trafficking and never realized what it was. I knew something was wrong, but there was something there that didn't click.
The Arizona Human Trafficking Council has guidelines for best practice, addressing that trafficking is an extremely complex issue.
For how communities can work together to address trafficking issues in a way that's not only trauma-informed and victim-centered, but also in a way that we make sure that our law enforcement are able to hold perpetrators accountable.
But that's an issue as well, due to both the victims and the lack of prosecution. Dominique Rose-Sepowitz is the director at the Office of Sex Trafficking Intervention Research at ASU, and her team looked at 159 Las Vegas cases in 2014. Only 24% of victims were cooperative concerning collection of evidence or aiding in the arrest and prosecution of their trafficker, and only 16.3% of minors trafficked were cooperative. Nearly 75% of the cases were never filed, and 95% of the traffickers had previous arrest histories.
We find them a year later in another case. They're victimizing young people. They're doing really violent, horrible, torturesome things to them, and maybe that victim doesn't participate either, and then back out into the community that trafficker goes.
Creating a vicious cycle. Traffickers abuse more girls, creating more victims. But red tape keeps organizations from being able to transition these girls from victims to survivors.
My question becomes, do we as a society really want to support these girls? Because if we do, we really need to make changes in how they are being served and how they are being identified.
We reached out to the Arizona Department of Health Services to further understand the restrictions in licenses, but we are unable to get a response. With the investigative team, Megan Finnerty, Cronkite News.
Syrians continue to try to flee the country, especially after this month's chemical weapons attack. And Arizona is 6th for largest number of refugees received. Reporter Kanak Jha tells us how these families are becoming a part of the Phoenix community.
4,100 refugee families have resettled in Arizona since 2016. Despite debate over banning refugees, 2 volunteer groups are helping families find financial stability and community through the art of baking.
Baklava and Turkish coffee are the staples in this Syrian refugee kitchen, and so is hospitality as they adjust to their new home.
We ran away from terrorists to save our families. We didn't like the war. We didn't like the violence. And no place like home, but your home where your heart is.
And Refugee Connection Phoenix and Syrian Sweets Exchange are showing these newcomers like Iman Ashopalap a lot of heart. The groups hope to dispel cultural misconceptions.
I mean, because they're lovely, wonderful people, and they are just, trying to do the best they can to fit into a world that's so different from what they knew.
The volunteer groups also try to set refugees up in business.
Yes, it helps us, and we can meet people through this event.
Like many Syrians, Lady Alzo is a skilled baker, and now she is selling many of her breads and pastries, which help support her family.
I think the first baked sale was so inspiring for everybody because they had no idea it would be such a big success. So we had more people show up than we had sweets to sell, which is a good scenario to be in.
The bake sales are quickly expanding to catering and other small businesses. This entrepreneurial spirit is not unknown to Syrian families. 11% of Syrians in America are business owners, according to the Center for American Progress. Aposhalap hopes that her work can help her children succeed.
Good future for my kids, because that I come here for my kids.
The next Syrian Sweets Bake Sale will take place at Congregation Beth Israel in Scottsdale this Sunday. The organizers say they will continue to plan events to help refugee families settle into the valley. In the broadcast center, Kanak Jha, Cronkite News.
Now, here's an @Cronkite News Pick of the Week, a favorite from the Cronkite News staff.
With summer approaching, many high school seniors are looking ahead to college. I went to Phoenix Collegiate Academy High School in South Phoenix to meet a student who did not let obstacles get in the way of his dream.
Like many seniors, Adam Jackson was anxious about getting into college.
I was applying for colleges and I feel like I'm not going to get into any of these.
But the South Phoenix student has been accepted to 8 different colleges across the country.
I want to say ever since I was small, a little child, my grandparents and my dad, they've always told me that I can do anything if I just apply myself.
Jackson has had a lot to overcome. He was abandoned by his mother at the age of 3, and he could not share the exciting news about college with his father.
He wouldn't know because he died a year ago.
He lost his father as he was studying for college entrance exams and beginning to apply to colleges.
It threw me off. It's still throwing me off right now. I'm still trying to pick myself back up from that. It's been hard.
But his hard work has paid off. He's been offered more than $140,000 in scholarships. Jackson hopes his father is smiling from above.
My motivation, that thing that I've been holding on to, is my dad. He always told me to go out and do way better than he ever did.
Graduation day is May 23rd, which also happens to be Dad's birthday.
I kind of want to think of it as my gift to him.
And Adam Jackson has decided to attend a private liberal arts college. Next year, he's headed to Bowdoin College in Maine.
Cronkite News tracks your likes, tweets, and shares from all our social sites to bring you this news special. At Cronkite News, our weekly refresh. Join the conversation so you choose the news. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, and log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org for top Arizona stories anytime.